I live in Florida, which means that it is now our spring break and pretty much our summer season. So sitting in front of me, I have my top 10 favorite spring inspired palettes and my top 10 summer inspired palettes. You guys want to see what I think are the best palettes for the entire spring and summer season? Well, then definitely keep on watching. Hello, my most beautiful friends. I love doing palette rankings. I think they're so much fun. Last year, I did my top 10 summer and spring palettes. This year, I'm doing technically, I guess, my top 20, but 10 of it being spring, 10 of it being summer, to let you guys know what palettes inspire me most for the next, 6 or 7 months, because I live in Florida. So right now it's technically our springtime, even though we're still having like some lows of like the 40s and 50s, but pretty much it's now spring break for us. Spring break has been happening all throughout Disney, Universal, the beaches, the water parks, everything. It is spring here for Florida, but our spring isn't necessarily spring. It's also our summer. It literally just kind of meshes all together. The only difference is that the temperatures get pretty high, and during the summer season we get bad thunderstorms, but right now we're having beautiful crystal clear skies, bright sunny weather with beautiful birds chirping, flower bloomings, but for me it's slowly turning into summer. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and dive into today's video. I will say I did just film this entire look for you guys. I did a chatty true get ready with me where I showed you guys my skincare followed by how I did this entire makeup. That will be coming up very, very soon. So if you guys want to see how I did this look, how I did this whole makeup look, just stay tuned for that tutorial. But let's dive into spring. So coming in at number 10, I personally don't necessarily see this as a spring palette, but the reason why it is being featured in today's video is because that's what this was marketed as, was a spring palette. The name says spring, it's about flowers. And for me, when I think of spring, I think of Flower and Garden over at Epcot, where it's bright, beautiful, clear blue skies, beautiful weather. Like the weather's like in this, like the high is like in the 70s to 80s. There's no chance of rain. The flowers are just so colorful, so pigmented. They're just blooming everywhere. You know, animals are making babies. Like, it is just a beautiful time. And so for me, this is what this palette reminds me of. So coming number 10, we do have the Natasha Denona Bloom palette. Now, this palette right here just recently launched, and this is a flower palette. Now, this was supposed to be like a spring palette, and for me, I said that would have been better if it had a little bit more pops of like green and lavender in it. That's just my personal opinion of what I view for like spring colors, probably just because of what I see here in Florida. But I also have to understand that these are also beautiful flower colors as well. You're gonna have all the names in here that do kind of remind you of like spring style shades along with the color story. You're gonna have those beautiful peachy coral pink tone colors, which are great for the spring season. So for me, even though it doesn't necessarily scream true spring, it still has its like spring elements with like the beautiful colors you can wear every single day for the spring season. So that is why at number 10 we do have the Bloom palette from Natasha Denona. Coming at number 9, we do have the Gourmand Girls. This is the Peach Perfect palette. Now, I think peaches are mostly in season in the summer season, but for me, the color story just screams spring. You're gonna have those beautiful mint green shades, those beautiful bright tangerine oranges, a little bit of the darker greens. It's such a beautiful palette. This could definitely be universal, not just for spring, but for summer as well. But mostly I see spring, because whenever I think of spring, I also think of like fresh smelling flowers, peaches, oranges, like very fruity, very floral scents. That's what I think of, and that's what this reminds me of. Like, I love the pastel shades in here. I love the little pastel oranges that you guys find in here as well. It's such a beautiful palette, beautiful formula, and I just get really springy, real spring vibes from this, especially because, like, you know, this is like the Disney nerd inside me. But during the Flower and Garden Festival, during the spring season, that's usually when they have all the orange bird merchandise. It's this cute little like bird that's supposed to be like a bird slash an orange. It's the cutest thing. I love it. And that only comes out during the spring season, and that's exactly what this reminds me of. So coming at number 9, we do have the Gourmand Girls Peach Perfect palette. Coming in at number 8, we do have the Flower Nose. This is the Midsummer Fairy Tale. So I know Midsummer is a huge festival over, I think it's in Sweden actually. I remember I had a joke with Angelica like, oh my gosh, if I go celebrate Midsummer in Sweden, am I gonna be like put into a cult and taken away, because I was referencing the movie Midsummer and we both had like a laugh. She's like, oh my God, Allie. It's like, no, for real, that movie scared me. But you know, it's a beautiful festival that happens over there, and they have really beautiful fun shades to go with it. So this palette right here is supposed to be a representation of it. You're gonna have that light pastel pink, the minty greens in here, and the light golden champagnes. It's such a stunning palette, and I see spring when I see this, because when I think of spring, I think of a lot of pastel shades: green, mint, lavender, light pink, yellow, light blue, very pastel shades that represent spring to me. That's what I always view it as. Even like bright colors can be taken as spring as well, because like the flowers, but it's mostly just very beautiful light pastel shades. It's just, that's just the vibe. So that is why this palette really kind of represents that for me. It's very quick, very easy on the go. It is a midsummer palette, so I believe it's a spring celebration, or it could be a summer celebration. I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that it's a really beautiful, fun festivity that happens over in Sweden, and I just think it's a really, really pretty palette. So coming in at number 8, we do have the Midsummer palette from Flower Knows Beauty. Coming in number 7, we do have the Natasha Denona. This is the pastel palette. Now this definitely screams fall, like screams spring. Do we see the pastel shades? It goes from light pink to lavender to mint. So freaking gorgeous. You open up the color store on the inside, and it's all pastel shades. It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful palette, beautiful formula. This is so inspiring. This reminds me of spring. This reminds me of flowers blooming. This just reminds me of being outside, smelling the beautiful oranges in the air. It's such a beautiful time. And it just is very inspiring. It's very colorful, very bright, and very beautiful. So that is why at number 7, we do have the pastel palette from Natasha Denona. Coming in at number 6. Now, the color story may not fully scream spring, but the concept of it does. So at the Flower and Garden Festival over in Epcot, they do have a butterfly garden that you get to walk into and look at all different types of butterflies. Some are in their cocoon, some are fully emerged, and it's a really beautiful experience. I know the butterflies are really present during the spring season, and it's all about changing. You shed what you once were, and you're evolving into something new, something beautiful, something that you can really be proud of. And I really love the concept of metamorphosis, and that's where this palette comes in from Art of Two Cosmetics. This is the Metamorph palette. So this is going to be a beautiful, like, butterfly spring-esque palette. You're gonna have these gorgeous, gorgeous shades in here of, you know, some more pastel cool tone shades, but also with bright colors. The shades in here are beautiful, and this is representing a transformation between what once was to what it is now, just like a butterfly. And you're gonna have those beautiful multi-chromes in here that also represent butterflies as well. I think it's such a stunning palette, and when I see this palette, I literally think of spring. I think of butterflies. I think of evolution and change, and like having the spring season be a start of something new. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe I get from this. So it's a really gorgeous palette. I really love the formula of this, and while it may not be the traditional colors, just the concept of it is. So for me, that is why coming in at number 6, we do have the Art of Two Cosmetics Metamorph palette. Coming in at number 5, this palette doesn't necessarily scream full on spring because of color story, but the concept as a whole does. So coming in number 5, we do have the Winnie the Pooh ColourPop Sweet As Can Be palette. First off, look at how cute Pooh Bear is, right? The pastel yellow, all the flowers that are blooming with the butterflies coming out of it, that screams spring to me. You take a look at the color story on the inside, and the color story can definitely be taken as spring, but it could also be taken as fall too. So like a little best of both worlds. But for me, you're gonna have more of the cool tone shades in here. You have a little bit more of the lighter pastel shades in here as well. And you also have all the concept of like spring, you know, like spring. Like you have the flowers that are blooming, the bees that are pollinating the flowers, the honey that is being extracted and being eaten by bears. Like bears are coming out of their slumber, they're coming out of hibernation, they want to feed, and it's just, I don't know. The concept as the palette is true spring. The color story can definitely be taken some shades spring, other shades fall, but I just love the concept as a whole. Like I see it and I just think of spring. Like I do think of spring. I love the color story. I love the packaging. It is just so beautiful, and I just really loved this palette. So coming in at number 5, we do have the ColourPop Sweet As Can Be palette. Coming in at number 4, we do have the Nomad Cosmetics. This is the Fairy Tale Europe palette. Now first off, look at the outside packaging. Like look at how beautiful that is. It's so springy, it's so vibrant, it's so beautiful, so full of life and color. I absolutely live for this packaging. The flowers blooming, the beautiful like sunset in the sky, the birds chirping, rabbits coming out, like all the springtime animals coming out. Then you open it up and you have these beautiful colors in here. Now the names are not spring-like, but the colors are. The purples, the blues, the reds, the yellows, the white, like they all represent all the different flowers that are blooming throughout the spring season. I just think it's such a gorgeous color story. I can create really beautiful springtime looks. When playing with this palette, I get very inspired to do like a pinky eye look, a yellow eye look, a purple eye look, a teal eye look. Like I get super, super, super inspired by this palette. It really does remind me a lot of spring. And I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. Everything about this palette is beautiful. So that is why at number 4, we do have the Nomad Cosmetics Fairy Tale Europe palette. Coming in at number 3, we do have the Spring Dragon palette from Odens collaboration with Judy. Of course, it has spring in its name, so it has to be in there. Plus, the outside packaging, look at how beautiful it is. The minty vibes, like mints are where it's at for the spring season. Like it is just where it's at. Like I'll post a little picture right here. This is what Disney's advertising in their shops right now. It's a very nice minty spring collection. It just goes with it, you know? And this is the color story on the inside. You're gonna have those beautiful pastel shades, pastel green, a mint green, a pastel yellow, pastel purple, blue, pink, like all baby-esque light shades that are really, really, really beautiful. That really represent spring and life blooming. I just think it's such a stunning palette. Special shades in here definitely have some nice spring, you know, names to them like Blossom, Rain, Dew, Petal, Flora, Plum, Seedling. Like there's definitely some great names in here that also represent the spring season. I think Judy did such a beautiful job with this color story, with the packaging. It is so pretty and it's so inspiring for spring. So that is why at number 3, we do have the Spring Dragon palette from Odens collaboration with Judy. Coming in at number 2, we do have the Unearthly Cosmetics. This is the Spring Magic palette. Now, I actually was gifted this palette last year when I went to Creator and Friends. This was their spring launch, and this palette just screams spring. Like everything about this is just a beautiful spring palette. And like for me, it's really nice to see because mostly Unearthly does a lot of like Halloween inspired palettes, and they actually did like a really beautiful springtime palette. It's really nice to see them do something a little bit different. And here you're gonna have so many different beautiful shades. So many different beautiful shades. You have beautiful names that correlate it with like Rainfall, Healer, Thaw, Dragonfly, Sprout, Herbal, Blossom, Lush, Flourish. Like everything about this screams fall, from the color story to the shade names to the layout to the concept to the packaging. It is just a full-on spring palette with those beautiful pinks, those beautiful light blues, and just even like the browns. Like that is such a beautiful palette. Like I had a hard time ranking this one because I really felt that this was a good spring palette. I love the shades in here. The duochromes really do capture the essence of like the shift between blue and purple. It's just an overall aesthetically pleasing palette. I think Unearthly did the best job with this one. So coming in at number 2, we do have the Spring Magic palette from Unearthly. Coming in at number 1, what I'm wearing my eyes today, and it is the Odens collaboration with Makeup Just for Fun. This is the Flora Story palette. This palette is beautiful. This palette screams spring to me because you're gonna have those beautiful cool tone muted shades along with those pops of pastel shades in here. Like these two shades right here, a little bit more on the cool tone, but they're also pastel. You're gonna have the beautiful shades right here that definitely just have pops of pastel shades to them. But then you're gonna have a little bit more of the dark. Then you have a little bit more of the darker shades that are right here that also just have a nice little pop of color to them. I think it's a really beautiful, thought out palette. I don't think this was intended to be a spring palette, but I see spring. I see life, you know, coming back from the dead, essentially, where life was barren. There was no leaves, no color, and now it's finally blooming into spring, and that is what this palette gives me. I get so inspired by this palette every time I see it. This is what I'm wearing on my eyes. It's a beautiful, beautiful palette. I did have some difficulty, though, with this shade right here. Did not want to blend, but besides that, it is a beautiful, aesthetically pleasing palette. I get so inspired by this. I love playing with this palette, particularly during the spring season. So that is why at number 1, we had the Odens collaboration with Makeup Just for Fun. This is the Flora Story palette. Now, moving on to my summer palettes. Now, y'all know I live in Florida. So for me, summer means going to the water parks. Summer means going to the beach and sitting in the sand, have a little bit of umbrella because it does get way too hot, with a book in hand, maybe an ice cold Coca-Cola or a beer or a drink of your choice, tons of snack. You hear the seagulls, you hear kids running around and playing, you hear the beautiful ocean waves, you could smell the salt in the air, and it's just such a nostalgic feeling for me. I go to the beach as much as possible because I'm not that far from the beach. It's one of the perks of living in Central Florida is that the beach on either side are only an hour away, if that. And I love being outdoors during the summer season. So normally for me, when I think of summer, I think of water. I think of being at the beach, being at like Typhoon Lagoon, Blizzard Beach, Volcano Bay. Like I think of just consistently being outdoor by the water. So these next palettes really do inspire me by that. So coming in number 10, we do have the Blend Bunny Cosmetics. This is the Beauty Below palette. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, really? this one, hear me out. Hear me out. First off, this is about being in the ocean. This is an ocean-inspired palette. This is a mermaid-inspired palette. And for me, this just reminds me of when I do go out into open water, when I go on cruises and wanting to see there's mermaids out there and going, ah. Like, I just want to do that to see if I can get like a siren to respond back to me. And I don't know, I just get really inspired. Like, so this color, I just get really inspired. So you open this up, you're going to have more of those darker shades. Now for me, I would say this kind of represents maybe more like a coral reef, or maybe you're going to go deep sea fishing, or you're going to go, you know, scuba diving. Like, I can see that when I look at this palette, and I still can create really fun, inspired summer shades in here. The shades are really beautiful. You're going to have those bright, bold colors with the beautiful shimmers to complement that, to have a nice shift. And I don't know, I just want to go I just want to go be on a boat when I look at this palette. I just want to go on a cruise when I look at this palette. I just want to dip my toes in the water when I look at this palette. I think of like a beautiful aquarium. You can see how deep the water is, the dark blue with all the different beautiful fishes and wildlife that are swimming inside of it. Like, that is what I get from this palette. So it still does remind me of the summer season, because usually I like to go to the aquarium with my best friend and her kids. We go check out the aquarium during the summer season, and that's just kind of what I get from this. I get really inspired. So that is why at number 10, we do have the Beauty Below palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. Of course, this palette also is going to be featured in here. We have, coming at number 9, the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Lure palette. Now, this palette can actually be a little bit between spring and summer, because it has a lot of those pastel shades in here, which I think are really beautiful, but also has deep, bold shades as well. Now, this is a mermaid-inspired palette, and again, I think of mermaids, I think of water, I think of summer. That's the vibe I get from here. You can have those beautiful, deep blue ocean blues and purples, and you're going to have a little bit more transcending to the top. You're going to have the beautiful coral reef. You're going to have the beautiful fishes and the wonderful colors so that they invoke, and it's just wonderful colors that they have on them. It's just a beautiful, beautiful palette. You also have a lot of like sea names in here, like sea foam, jellyfish, lost at sea, baited, catch me. It's a very sea inspired palette, and I just think of summer. I think of spring, but I think of summer mostly. Like, I think of being on the water. I think of going on a cruise. I think of going in the aquarium. It's such a beautiful, beautiful palette. I get super inspired. I want to have really beautiful, fun, wavy hair when I wear this. I want to go put on a little like shell top and go put on my flippers and go sit by the pool. You know what I mean? Like, I just get really inspired. I love it. I love it. I love it. So that is why at number 9, we do have the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Lure palette. Coming in at number 8, when you think of summer, you think of the beach. And what do you do at the beach? You play volleyball. You build sandcastles. You relax, you read, you have nice cold drinks, you play in the water. You think of you just think of a good time. So that is why at number 8, we do have the Glamlight Barbie Dream Summer Palette. First off, it has summer in the name, so of course it has to be in here. Then you're going to have beautiful Barbie dolls in their bikinis because they're at the beach having a good time. And they open the color story. In here, you're going to have beautiful, beautiful colors. You're going to have those beautiful pinks, blues, golds. You're gonna have like the golds, like for me, this is like the sand going into the shallow water, going into the deeper water, going into like the coral reef. Like, that's the vibe I get from this. You have really fun summer names in here as well, and it's just a really fun beachy vibe palette. You can have bathing suit colors, you can have towel colors, you can have, you know, beach ball volleyball colors. It's just a really fun overall aesthetically pleasing palette. The only thing I do want to know though is, like, do y'all see this? Mine is all starting to stain. Do you guys see this? I don't know what that is. I don't know how this happens. It doesn't like come off. Can y'all tell me what that is though? Cause like, it's not the first time one of my Glamlight palettes have done this, and I don't really know what it is and why it's purple that's spreading. So I'm like, what's going on? But anyway, that's beside the point. I just think it's a really fun, really fun summer palette. This actually did launch in October, I think of like 2023. And this was like the end of the summer, mostly for us. It'd be end of summer because we still have summer season in October. Like, we do not get any sort of winter season until pretty much beginning of January to like late January is when we start to get some really cold days. Other than that, we still have summer up until Christmas. We tend to have a hot summer, a hot Christmas. It is what it is. So for me, it's pretty much summer all season long, but this definitely represents fun times in the summer, being in your bikini, being on the beach, you know, having a pina colada, playing volleyball, you know, building sand castles. Like, that is what this vibe gives me. So coming in number 8, we do have the Barbie palette from Glamlight. Coming in at number 7, of course, this palette has to be in here. It is the Nomad Cosmetics Florida Keys palette. When you guys think of summer, y'all think of Florida. Florida is a summer destination. People, you know, from all over the world come visit Florida during the summer season. They want to come check out all our beaches. Key West gets super, super, super packed, and for good reason. It's a beautiful destination. So here represents that. You're going to have the flamingo, the famous key lime pie. You're going to have tropical fruity drinks, the palm trees. Like, it is just screaming Florida, screaming summer. You open this color story up, you open this palette up, and you're going to have beautiful, bright, bold colors. Beautiful, bright, bold colors. Now, when I first reviewed this, I kind of correlated to the ocean. I kind of correlated this being like the nice beach with, you know, shallow water to a coral reef, deep blue sea. Like, that's just the vibe I got from this. You're going to have really fun colors, fun names in here that definitely represent the summer season. And it has really fun, bold summer colors that you can create all season long that really just kind of get you really fun, wanting to be out there. I get so inspired when I see this. I love seeing this because I'm like, this is Florida. Like, this to me is Florida. This is definitely Key West. And I think they did such a phenomenal job. And when I think of Key West, I think of summer because that's mostly when people go down there to visit it because the weather is beautiful, water feels incredible, and it's just an overall fantastic time. So coming at number 7, we do have the Nomad Cosmetics. This is going to be the Keys Beachy and Peachy palette. Coming in at number 6, like I said, anything that has to do with the ocean, I think of summer. And so at number 6, we do have the Sigma Little Mermaid. This is going to be the Little Mermaid palette. And obviously this has to be in here because this is a summer palette too. You have those beautiful, bold colors, those light, fun, bright teals, golds, purples, whites, really fun colors in here. Really beautiful dual chromes and multi-chromes in here. And just when I think of Little Mermaid, I think of the ocean, I think of the beach, and that's just the vibe that I got from this. You're gonna have the beautiful ocean shells right here, along with these really fun colors that can definitely be worn throughout this entire season. You could even use some of these for spring, but mostly this is like a definite summer vibe palette. Like, I would use a lot of these shades right here for summer to create a really fun, beautiful golden blue eye look that I feel like just is beautiful for summer season. So that is why at number 6, we do have the Sigma, the Little Mermaid palette. Coming in at number 5, we do have Endangered Cosmetics. This is going to be the Sea Turtle palette. Now, first off, look at how beautiful these sea turtles are, right? Like, really pretty. You open this palette up and you're going to have really fun, beautiful summer shades. You're going to have the beautiful ocean, the sand, the deep blue sea, a little bit of like the palm trees right by the beach. Like, I can see so much of this. Like, this was so fun for me to play during the summer season. I use these shades a lot right here to create really fun, beautiful summer inspired looks. I love doing a lot of teal looks during the summer, golden eye looks, deep blue eye looks. Like, this just reminds me of like the beach, and I get really inspired. And that's kind of what I got from this. I got really inspired from these beautiful color story right here. Plus, you know, this brand had such an amazing cause. It's sad because I pretty much think that they just stopped being a brand. I don't know if they're still around. Haven't seen anything from them in a long time, and I kind of wish that they came back because they were really good. And so that is why I get really inspired and look at this, because it's sea turtles, beautiful summer, you know, beachy vibe palette, and it's just a really overall aesthetically pleasing palette. So coming at number 5, we do have the Endangered Cosmetics Sea Turtle palette. Number 4, we do have the Odens Eye collaboration with Lauren May Beauty. This is the Sea Talk palette. First off, look at the outside packaging, right? So beautiful. You see all the beautiful marine life with coral and turtles in the ocean. It's so pretty. And then you pull this out, look at the color story. Like, the color story is just gorgeous. First off, the mattes have a beautiful scale imprint in them, but you're going to have the beautiful teal shades, the beautiful pink shades, the blue shades, the brown shades. It's just so beautiful, along with those beautiful sea names in here. Like, I love this palette for the summer season because I can create really beautiful, like, fun, you know, summer inspired looks. It's so pretty. Like, it is so pretty. I think Lauren May Beauty did a really beautiful job with this palette. I think it does scream, you know, under the sea. I think it screams sea talk. I think it does scream like a sea palette and a beachy style palette, and it's just a beautiful, fun, colorful palette to wear all summer season. So coming in number 4, we do have the Sea Talk palette. This is Odens' collaboration with Lauren May Beauty. Coming in at number 3, I'm gonna be a little biased because I did kind of create this palette myself. I don't think this palette still exists. Just like my Falling in Love palette, I don't think it exists anymore either. The brand did let me know that they were discontinuing it because they were getting rid of the ingredients that were found inside the palette, so they were just no longer going to be selling it. But you guys can still buy my liquid lip and lip gloss set from Ofra. You guys can buy the Kaya liquid lip and the Coag lip gloss. It's still going to be available in their core collection. You guys can use my code Allie, save you guys 20% off. But I originally created this palette because I am from Florida, and like I said, I love going to the beach during the summer season, even the spring season. And that's what I created when I created this palette right here. So this is the Allie Dawson palette. I did not create the shades. I just kind of put my favorite shades together. And I was so heavily inspired by the summer season. I wanted to represent summer. I wanted to represent Florida. So that's what I did right here. You're going to see these beautiful teal blue, pastel purples, a little bit light, a bright yellow, a little bit more of the orange and brown for like the grass and the trees. And you have these beautiful highlighters right here. I get super, super inspired because like I said in my video when I first created this, is that I wanted you to imagine sitting in the sand, okay? You hear the wind blowing, you hear seagulls chirping, you hear kids playing in the background, but you hear the ocean, just, you know, you hear the ocean waves slowly rolling in. They're slightly like lapping your feet. You have a pina colada in your hand or nice cold Coca-Cola beverage of your choice, and you are just relaxed. You're at peace. You have a book in your hand, you know, your book in your hand, and you're just enjoying relaxing in that moment. That is what I wanted to envision. That's what I wanted to create when I created this palette right here. And that's what I get. Like, I get a beautiful summer inspired palette. I really, really had fun playing with this. I love the looks I created with this. And I get really inspired to still wear this during the summer season because it's still so beautiful. So that is why at number 3, we do have the Allie Dawson palette with Ofra Cosmetics. Coming in at number 2, we do have the Nomad Cosmetics. This is going to be the Paradise Island palette. Now, this palette I think was supposed to represent Fiji. I'm dying to go to Fiji. Fiji is one of those places I absolutely would visit during the summer season. Oh my God, to see those crystal clear blue waters, the beautiful lush green mountains right behind it, the beautiful ivory sand, and just crystal clear blue sky with sun, and seeing all types of marine life. Like, that is a dream. Fiji is definitely on my bucket list to go visit. So is Bora Bora. And that's what this palette is. This palette is just a really fun, colorful summertime palette. You're going to have those beautiful corals, oranges, greens, lime greens, blues, purples, pinks. It's really fun. It's very colorful, just like the summer season is, especially when you look at the marine life. That's exactly what it's representing. You can see that it's underwater right now, so you're seeing how beautiful this is. And you're going to open this up, you're going to see like the beautiful water with the mountains. It's such a beautiful, inspired palette. This actually did come out for the summer season, and I loved every second of this. I loved every second of this palette. I love the looks I created with this palette. I literally, every time I think of summer, I think of this palette every single time. Like, whenever I travel in the summer season, I travel with this because I love it so much. It's so inspiring. It's so colorful. I just think it really does a great job at hitting the mark when it comes to the summer season. So that is why at number 2, we do have the Nomad. This is the Paradise Island palette. Coming in at number 1, I wanted to pick a palette that was representing not only the summer season, but slowly transitioning into fall. A lot of you guys are from different parts of the states or even different countries, and you guys get to experience the fall season. I'll never know what it's like to experience fall because we don't have that here in Florida. We just don't. Our trees do not turn beautiful, lush orange that I wish they would. It just doesn't happen here. They just turn brown and the leaves fall. That's all we get. But I always love a good summer palette that shows a transition into fall. And when you think of summer, when you think of summer, what dessert, like when you think of summer, what fun summer treat do you think of? You think of ices. You think of ice cream. You think of ice cream cones. People love eating ice cream during the summer season. You should see what happens at Disney. Those Mickey bars sell like crazy because it's so hot and you want something to cool you down. So what better palette to represent the summer season transitioning into fall other than the Glamlight ice cream palette. So look at how, first off, the packaging is so beautiful. But for me, it's the color story that does it for me every single time. I see this color story and I just get super, super, super inspired. So down here, you're going to have a good spring look. You're going to have good summer looks transitioning into fall. It is the perfect spring, summer, fall palette. It encompasses all 3 seasons. It does not mean to, because it's literally an ice cream inspired palette, so it's all like ice cream shades in here, but you know what, ice cream names in here. But I get really fun pops of colors. I get those bright pastel shades, those beautiful bold shades, and those beautiful transition into fall shades. It's such a gorgeous palette. And not to mention, it's ice cream. What better way to cool down during the summer than to have a beautiful ice cream? I can't have it. I know I could have my lactate pills, and I do know they make a lot of lactate ice cream or lactose-free ice cream. For me personally, I'm just not a fan of the taste. I just learned to not have ice cream years and years and years ago. I can have sorbet, I can have fruit bars, but it's just not the same as a good creamy mint chocolate chip ice cream. Ugh, I'll forever miss it. But at the end of the day, I get so inspired. I constantly pull this palette out every spring and summer season because I know I'm going to create really fun, beautiful looks. But I also pull this palette out when I do my fall ranking because of this right here. Like, I love seeing the transition of the seasons. I think it's so beautiful. I know Glamette did not attend it, but my God, I think it's one of the prettiest palettes that I think it's one of the prettiest pastel, colorful palettes that they've ever created. It's so inspiring to me. So that is why at number 1, we do have the Glamlight Ice Cream palette. All right, guys, so those are all my 20 palettes, 10 that remind me of spring and 10 that remind me of summer. Let me know down in the comments below what palettes remind you of spring, what palettes remind you of summer. I may go check them out and maybe I can purchase them myself, and maybe you guys will see them featured in next year's ranking. But I love doing these style videos. I think they're so fun. And the reason why I put spring and summer together is at the end of the day, I live in Florida and it literally meshes together. Like one day, like today, the high is 74, but later this week, the high is 90. It's literally like that for the Florida. It's only like that for us Floridians, where we just never really know what type of weather we're going to get. We're at that season where at night, it's like 50 degrees, but during the day it's 90. You have that huge gap in temperature. So you'll see a lot of people wearing like winter clothes in the morning. Afternoon, we're wearing, flip-flops, tank top, shorts. You never really know what you're going to get. But that's our transitioning between winter, spring, summer. It kind of goes together in one. So it all kind of just meshes together. So you never really know what type of season you're going to get. But just know that like we don't get a lot of like spring weather the way that other places do, but we do have our version of spring and summer kind of mixed together. So that's why I wanted to put this video together as well. But yeah, guys, I'll make sure I list one of my face down below. Like I said, I do have a tutorial on this coming out, so stay tuned. But that is it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please make sure you guys give this video a cheeky thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you guys have not already, so I do post 3 to 4 videos every single week. Make sure you guys head over to my other channel. It's Art for Life. You guys get to see my cool, wonderful adventures, my amazing husband, Corey. And as always, the biggest thank you goes to beautiful, wonderful Patreon members you guys see right here. Thank you guys so much for everything. And to my subscribers and viewers, thank you guys so much for being here. Whether you guys like this video, you guys thumbs down this video, you guys subscribed, you guys did not subscribe. Either way, thank you guys so much for being here. I love and appreciate each and every single one of you. So with that said, guys, I love you, and I'll see you guys in the very next video.